Hi everyone, this is Arcadius and welcome back to Naval Creed. Today we'll be reviewing the Soviet dreadnought Rostislav. This ship is actually a lot better than the one we did yesterday, Navarino, and we will soon go into why that is. Now, real quick before we actually start the review of the ship, I do want to let you know that I was able to get Robin, the newest Free XP ship, and the newest American carrier, which is pretty much just an illustrious class British carrier, but with American aircraft. I haven't played her much, only one game, but she seems pretty decent as a carrier. I didn't have a bad game, but she wasn't overpowered like Graf Zeppelin or anything. We will review her in a couple days, right before the update actually. So I will have to play a couple more games before then to see how she is. And then I will finish up with Ekaterina tomorrow, and then we'll see what we can do about going over the world missions. So, going back to Rostislav. So I did say that this ship does get a lot better, and honestly, Rostislav and Ekaterina are actually one of these actually really strong ships, and just pure firepower. Everything else is kind of meh, but I mean, if you can shoot it, you can sink it. That's kind of what the ideology is with these ships. All right, so let's take a look at the stats. So it's actually Admiral Nakimov is her real name. She has 82,100 health, which is pretty low, I would say, for a Tier 9 battleship. 30% torpedo damage resistance. Up to 450 millimeters of armor. Belt of only 280 millimeters, so only a belt of 11 inches. But you have a max of about 16 inches on the turrets itself. So this has the same mentality of your guns will probably never ever be knocked out. That being said, the ship that they're on will probably be destroyed before the guns are. This ship is very easy to citadel on a broadside. And we did see a couple of these ships when we were doing the event, Duel of the Ages, and we kind of could see how their armor was. It's not the strongest, but it's not the weakest either. You're not going to have something like H-39, but it's not going to be nearly as bad as something like Yamato. But don't expect much from it. Just know when to angle and always try and keep a good angle towards the enemy. Let's see what else we have. Guns, 1.85 rounds a minute, so slightly slow rate of fire, but honestly, I haven't had a problem with it. 42nd degree turn time, so that went up a bit. High explosive and armor piercing are going to be extremely good. So we have 3 quadruple 16-inch gun turrets, the only quad 16s in the game. Yes. And these ships are really good. They don't fire like French quads where you have 2 turrets in one. They fire more like British quads where you fire all 4 barrels at the same time. So that effectively still gives you only 3 turrets, but honestly, I like that way better anyways. Alright, so you have 1 fore, 1 aft, and 1 in midships. Now, at any 2 times, you can have 8 guns facing either this way or this way. That's looking that way or that way. And then the rear turret does have the ability to do the 180 all the way around. But at any given time, you should have at least 2 turrets on target. This middle turret is a 360 turret, I'm pretty sure. Which might actually be one of the first in the game. And then, yeah, it's just anywhere you look, you have Montana broadside with 12 16-inch guns at a Tier 9, which theoretically can also go against this year Tier 8 if they get on up tiered. So having this kind of firepower, the ship might not be as impressive as a Montana, but the firepower is definitely there. So yeah, high explosive, if you just use her as a high explosive spammer, you can get a ton of fires and like 13,000 damage in high explosive straight damage, which does work out. Armor piercing though, especially on broadsides, it's not uncommon to just start one-shotting everything left and right. That's so powerful. Main guns have shoot out to a range of 22.1 kilometers, a secondary range of 5 kilometers, no secondary turrets, but we do have a lot of casemates that are pretty much worthless. Yeah, you might have a lot of them, so you have 3, 6, 9, 12, so you have 24 total, 12 to a side, but I mean, if they can't hit anything, they're not going to be useful. AA, again, nothing really. I don't even see any modeled AA guns on the ship. Like, that's how limited your AA defense is. That being said, you do have some somewhat decent middle range damage, but middle being 2.5 kilometers, which is pretty trash in itself. So yeah, AA, not so much. That being said, though, your speed of 28 knots is definitely pretty advantageous. So you're not as fast as an Iowa at 33 knots. You're not as fast as an Alsace, but you are faster than Yamato, just by 1 knot, though. So yeah, you're at the very bottom of the speed comparisons, but I mean 28 knots is still not bad. And then yeah, you have pretty much to no superstructure at all. Actually, let's see what the superstructure is listed as. Yeah, you have your smokestack 1 and your smokestack 2 and your bridge, and that's pretty much it. So high explosive spam on the ship is not going to be very applicable. That being said, though, she is very weak against armor piercing because this entire casemate belt is just a perfect shell catch for any kind of armor piercing. So if it can't pen through the main armor deck, which is only 11 inches, so it's not that hard, honestly, if you still find yourself not able to pen it, then just aim for the casemates and you will have no problem. So with that, let's toss into a game and see what we can do. Alright, and here ourselves the game. We have an Essex carrier, a Rostislav, a Bismarck, a Fargo, Minotaur, and an Alaska. So thankfully, no destroyers, but we do have an Essex, which means that we are just food for their aircraft. It's also kind of interesting to see like a dreadnought kind of ship in tiers where you have like Bismarcks and like Minotaurs and Alaskas and ships like that. It just seems really, really out of place. But the firepower does put it at this kind of tier. So let's just start moving on. I do have health buffs and speed buffs applied, so do keep that in mind. And we just gotta start making our way this way. So the high explosive on the ship is really, really good against cruisers and destroyers. And before we talk more about the ship, you can kind of have this kind of angle for all 3 of your turrets, which is honestly not the best. But like I said, you want to be maneuvering and angling as much as possible. So you want to fire and then angle back in, and then once your guns are reloaded, angle back out. So good maneuverability is key with this ship. Alright, so going back to the guns themselves. High explosive will work pretty much on anything and everything. If you're shooting a cruiser or destroyer, just aim for the hull, and same with a carrier. And for a battleship, aim for the superstructure, because even though you have 16-inch guns, high explosive will most likely still just shatter. If you can't really aim for the superstructure, aim for the bow or the stern. Those are usually pretty squishy and will soak up a lot of high explosive damage. And you also have the benefit of being able to set a ton of fires. Alright, as you can see here, I do have a little bit of speed buffs applied, but not enough to really make that much of a difference. I'm still going only 31.6 knots, but I'm not having any trouble keeping up with the rest of the team. So we have the first Minotaur that came out. Let's see what we can do against her. I don't think that was enough lead, though. Yeah, 2 shatters so far. There's the other Rostislav. So what I can do here is I can send out another salvo of high explosive and get 13.3 thousand damage and a fire. And then I'm already switching over to armor piercing to just completely annihilate him. Even if she turns bow in, I'm pretty sure I can overmatch her bow. Okay, so let's just finish her off here. It just is amazing to see all those shells and know that they're 16-inch guns. Alright, so we have an enemy Rostislav here. So this is a good chance to test out the armor of the ship. So she's fully broadside, pretty much, at about 11 kilometers. Let's see how her armor holds up, even though she only has about just under 11 inches. Yeah, so 23,000 damage. A lot of those went into the upper belt. Yeah, it's a good, well, good and bad shell trap. It depends on if you're the one playing the ship or not. I guess we could launch a salvo towards Essex here, see what we can do against her before she actually starts taking us out. And then let's start moving again. Let's see, can we one-shot her? Oh, pretty close, 47k. Alright, so this is what I was talking about. So I was engaging targets on my right side, and now I'm switching to my left side, and I still have 2 of my turrets, so that still means 8 16-inch guns, which is still almost pretty much an Iowa. Now we should be able to finish Essex here. There she goes. And now we are in a perfect position to start slapping this Bismarck. There's also a cruiser around here. What's that? There's still a Fargo somewhere. Oh, okay, so Fargo's up near the north of B. But these guns are really, really good. They make the ship worth it. You don't even realize any of her other shortcomings. You just see pure damage come out of these guns. Nice. Maybe we can finish off Rostislav. She doesn't need 2 turrets, but might as well. Alright, so we're kind of aiming towards the back. And now we were able to get a citadel. And let's just start slapping this Bismarck again. Alright, so now we are the ones coming under attack. Bismarck only has 15, so they're not nearly as powerful as mine, and she only has 8 of them. But I mean, they'll still hurt without a problem. I'm going to switch over to high explosive to show you what you can do against battleships with your high explosive. We've already seen that armor piercing definitely works. Might as well pop a heal because there's nothing else. Our carrier is taking a beating, but I still think she'll be able to take down the Fargo. Alright, so a nose in Bismarck. If I had armor piercing, it would just bounce off the nose armor. Well, let's say we aim for the superstructure with high explosive. We get almost 10,000 damage and a fire. But we are coming under secondaries attack as well. There's not much for them to hit though. A lot of them just sail right over the top. Oh, we actually lost our carrier. That's fine. Alright, so our secondaries are coming into play here. Not like they're going to do much. Finish off the... Ooh, 10 shatters. Okay, maybe we didn't finish off Bismarck. We got a secondary kill on a Bismarck with a Rostislav. Alright, let's go tangle with this Fargo. I think I want to use my secondaries a bit more. If she lasts that long, that is. Alright, secondaries are opening up, so you can kind of see you have limited arcs for the bow, but as soon as you turn broadside, all of your secondaries start opening up. But even against something like a Fargo, only a couple of the shells are actually doing anything. So they're really only useful against destroyers. Alright, let's start slapping this Fargo with high explosive. 14,000 damage. That was only 2 turrets. Here's another one. And we finish her off with another 4,000 damage. So your high explosive shells are absolutely going to crush cruisers and destroyers. We didn't have the chance to do that against destroyers this game. But we were still able to do 217,000 damage, 5 ships sunk, 110 shell hits, 1 aircraft shot down. Not quite sure when that happened. 6 citadels, 3 fires, 30 secondary hits for 5,200 base XP. 41,000 damage in high explosive, 162,000 damage in armor piercing, fires did 12,000 damage, and secondary battery did just under 1,300 damage. So pretty much nothing at all. That being said, though, these damage numbers are going to be pretty, well, consecutive and consistent. You should not be able to get anything less than 100,000 damage if you use the ship correctly. Like I said, even if you just use her as a high explosive spammer, you'll definitely still see good results, especially with the amount of fires you can get for your shells. Let's see, what's your fire chance? 34.3%. Yeah. She's a pretty fun ship, I would say. If you haven't grinded this line already, like I said, once you get past Sinop and Navarino, it does get better. And then tomorrow, which is the Soviet Dreadnought line, Ekaterina or Rodina, is everything Rostislav has to offer, plus another turret. That's right, we have 4 quadruple 16-inch gun turrets. So with that, I will wrap up today's video. If you liked the video, make sure you like and subscribe for further content. And join me tomorrow while we go over Ekaterina. Take care.